we know that the human brain has evolved from a low-level command center, functioning at the most basic biological needs. The mind with its senses begins to fasten distinctions of the external world by the most primitive instincts. Sensory distinctions create neurological networks. This is seen in the development of many animals, as in the process of differentiating pleasant materials from unpleasant materials. In the early stages of development, one example, other, gender identity, quantity knowledge, qualitative knowledge perception. We can reach a higher level of distinction in the differentiation of the levels of our world. In each grasping of the mind, there exists the potentialization of the sensory data associated with a thing, which provides us with the actual consciousness of the thing. Through this process of potentiating sensory information, which can be named the process of becoming conscious of, we can use it to increase the level of consciousness we all live at. This mental procedural idea. The main aspects of consciousness are recognition, sensory recall, thinghood, functionality, emotionality, language, and causation, cause effects, intentions, creative consciousness, novel ideas, imagination. A unit of consciousness is an idea. 1. Knowledge is equating mind to world. The idea is the abstraction of what the thing is, or what we think it is. The rough approximation of what the thing is, or the definitions in our syntax of event, are representations that resemble the world we observe. Sense matches idea and is made knowledge. Our computers already have the ability to visually recognize things. They can even recall what a thing is, and are thus thinking in the form of thought called visual recognition. One difference between the mind and machine is the intention to recall things. Basic recognition machines do not have capability to visually recall upon an internal command. Internal command recognition machines can be invented by applying algorithms, which give its ability to internally recognize within the limits of its will and consciousness. The way in which visual recognition is done in machines is a calculated or mathematical process, whereas human beings we do not have access to correspondence percentages, meaning we cannot calculate how accurate an idea is with a thing, as in a 75% correspondence that idea X is X. This technology does exist and is utilized in profiling. Also, machines exist that can audio associate with a visual, which is something that is performed by the processes of the brain. What remains murky is the ability to form strains of audio associations, as structured by grammar. This too separates mind from machine. 2. Imagination is the lack of mental world equality before a thing can exist in the known. Sometimes it may exist within the imagination. Imagination is a fabrication, or a false representation of how things happen, an expectation projection. The creative mind and creative inventions do not come by imagination by itself, but rather the knowledge and creativity work to inflate one another. A person that has no mind of the chemical nature of reality cannot invent something at that level to change a higher level of phenomena. 3. Consciousness is phenomenal level dependent. These worlds can be split into dimensions levels, and each one can have domains. The levels we currently can have consciousness of are the 1. Particle world. 2. Molecular world and chemical identities. 3. Biological world. 4. Median world, self, psychology mind, life events, economics construction, business, politics government, religion. 5. Larger median, ecological, atmospheric, geological, world and its material and biological entities, industrial machines, global economy, society. 6. Astronomical world, planets, moons, stars, solar systems. These 6 levels exist within time, which is a system of causes and effects, known as the temporal or causal. All that can be observed, known, and assumed exists within these 6 structural dimensions. If we are to sense any object, we can look at it and know if we have a corresponding idea of it, at each and every level. You can tell the color, the size, its mass state, just by looking, and so you know there is the potential of 100% correspondence at the median level of sense. To see the object and know of its molecular level, this is to have correspondence at this level of consciousness. Now, there are certain things that exist only within a certain level. That is, they have spatial limitations within a dimension of consciousness. Some other things might have higher relation levels, and one can think of a thing existing from a total top-down or bottom-up. You can think any object as being on Earth, as being in the solar system, for example. But these don't tell us much about the object that exists primary bond to the median levels and lower. 4. Integration and reductionism. Level 1 consciousness of level 6 consciousness is possible. For example, the photosynthesis taking place in planets is done so via a relationship between a level 6 entity and a level 4 entity. A reduction is effected when the experimental laws of the secondary higher are shown to be the logical consequences of the theoretical assumptions of the primary lower science. Nagel on reductionism. From one level to another it is called bottom-up or top-down. Because the two may be polar, a torus two-ended spirogram might be an easier symbol to represent the dynamic. Higher levels of consciousness can flow between both apprehensions of the world. To heighten consciousness or to expand it is to use knowledge acquisition, to make the mind have ideas of the world at every level possible. Knowledge of the world creates a data potential within the mind that can be activated or stored in LTM or active memory for purposes of sharing information, focus, or informational application. In some cases, relationships between higher and lower orders of entities is unnecessary or hindered. This doesn't mean the two are independent, because all levels are dependent on one another in scales of the physical universe. The links are there, but the awareness is not. As for example, the biological entity that is the heart will not be known much better if we average the motions of its atoms. The process of reductionism may also be called analysis, deconstruction, or dissection, and the process of integration may also be termed synthesis, reconstruction, or reassembly. 5. The future exists within an indefinite state, so we can prove what we are, experiment with what we are, and revise the actuality of the ego, memory, collective self, and even societies as written about in my publications. A testable hypothesis is one that can be produced in an phenomenal example. Physics and mathematics are the simple way of converting language into phenomena.